Bondcast, James Bondcast, the only show that dedicates itself to the critical and hopefully comical discussion of every movie in Ian Fleming's 007 film series. One episode a month for 24 consecutive months, where we will be discussing one James Bond film at a time in chronological order, leading up to the eventual release of the upcoming 25th entry into the James Bond series, which as of this date is still unnamed. My name is Harris McCabe, and today's episode we will be focusing on Moonraker, the 11th entry in the 007 series, and the fourth outing for Sir Roger Moore as James Bond. One of the more costly and cartoonish films in the series, the budget for this movie allegedly cost more than all of the Sean Connery-era Bond films combined, and it is said that Maurice Binder's opening title for this film alone cost more than all of Dr. No's entire budget. Moonraker went on to become the highest-grossing 007 film up until this point, a record that would go uncontested by any other Bond film for the next 16 years. I am, of course, joined by my two Bond-obsessed co-hosts, Matt McGregor.
What's cooking, good looking?
And Colin Shaw.
Hello, hello.
And with us, as always, is C-Rock. Let's get started. What did you guys think of this movie?
I think this is a fun one. You know, I really had a good time watching this.
Did you know James Bond goes to space in this one?
Yeah, so I guess a better question would be Moonraker or Star Wars? Who you got?
Ooh.
Oh.
One has Chewbacca, the other has Jaws.
Oh, what if Chewbacca was in James Bond?
What if Chewbacca married Jaws? Interesting questions. All that and more coming up.
Well,
Before you say that, I just want to say, nice intro. Nice intro, Harris. Your reading skills are top notch.
Thanks, buddy. I was waiting for my chance to read, and as it turns out, I can.
Did you like how I changed it up? Like we talk about the
Yes,
movie
you did.
a little bit now?
And you said, hey, you might want to read this in advance and take a look at it, and I didn't. I sat there with the paper in front of me the entire time, and then as I was reading, was like, oh, shit, there's all these other words now. What's going on here?
Oh, yeah, you didn't, you added stuff, yeah.
I did not know that I was going to be introing the whole film. Nicely done, though, well written. I thought that was a very succinct way to get us into it.
I remembered those facts and was gonna try and make sure to say them, but now they've been said, so I'm gonna go.
Got it out.
I'll stay.
Just got it out of the way.
All right, well, before we get into the show, we have a special segment today. It's called From Whence It Came. Whence, W-E-N-T-Z, because we're going to be calling in to our number one fan, Tom R. Wentz.
R. Wentz. The Tom R. Wentz is going to be on the show.
Which is
right
exciting.
now.
For those of you who don't
whenever you're
recall who Tom R. Wentz is, he's a fellow who was on a Reddit thread that Matt happened to stumble across, who gave us one of our first reviews. As far as I know, he might have been one of the first people to listen to the podcast that didn't know us directly.
Yeah.
He tuned in for the On Her Majesty's Secret Service episode.
Yes, his opinions.
Where we panned that movie. We did not like it at all. Didn't like the Bond. Didn't like the film in general. And despite the fact that this is one of his favorite Bond movies, and he was devastated, so upset that he couldn't even finish listening to the podcast, he actually gave us a pretty sympathetic review and said, these guys aren't bad.
He said he went back and listened to the whole thing.
He did eventually, yes. And he's become I think a loyal listener, so we're going to have him on. And he's going to talk to us a little bit about, just his opinions.
We'll find out more about who he is, hopefully, and this is a total surprise. We haven't talked to this guy at all.
Hello?
Hey, Tom?
Hey,
Is this Tom R. Wentz?
Tom, can you hear us?
It is.
Oh, hold on. We're having some technical difficulties.
We got to turn him up a little bit more, I think. Tom, are you there?
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yeah,
now
totally.
we can. How's it going?
It's going. How are you guys doing?
We're all right. This is the
Good.
first time
You
we've
know,
done anything like this.
We're fully in podcast mode now.
You're our first special guest.
Yeah.
I'd have to say this is the first time I've done anything like this too, so we're on the same page.
That's great. So we're calling this segment where we call you From Whence It Came.
I'll take it.
Yeah. So I guess first things first, like maybe before we talk about opinions about movies and stuff, we'll keep this brief so you can go to bed. So you're calling from where? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your
Sure.
connection with the James Bond movies and where you're calling from and all that stuff. but not your address.
Sure,
We don't want to know
sounds
your address.
The address, social security number.
I'm
anything.
calling from outside of Detroit, just in the suburbs of Detroit. So, yeah, it's nearing midnight, but I'm usually up pretty late anyways. But I don't know, I'm just a 27-year-old dude. Work for Ford because you pretty much have to work for a car company if you live over here.
Nice.
But I've definitely loved James Bond for a while. I don't know about you guys. I played a lot of GoldenEye when I was younger.
Oh, we
Probably
definitely did.
my first foray into the whole franchise.
Like many of us, yes.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said like many of us. Yeah, that was our first
Yeah.
foray.
Yeah, so I think I actually played the game before I watched any of the movies. But then I think like really long time ago, ABC on like the weekends would play James Bond movies, and I think the first one I actually paid attention to was Live and Let Die, and I don't know, just kind of went crazy from there. Usually, if I'm into something, I either like love it and overdo it, or I don't like it at all. So definitely been a big fan of the movies for a while. Most especially Harris's favorite, On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
I was just going to ask about that because I was just thinking for somebody like you clearly are a dedicated fan to be so committed that is one of your top Bond films. I just wanted to give you like just a minute or two in defense of On Her Majesty's Secret Service because we gutted that film. We did not. I don't think any of us really defended it a whole lot.
We weren't nice.
So
Really.
we're offering some equal time for a contrary opinion. Go ahead and tell me what I missed in On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
I definitely I think the first few times I watched it, I think I watched that movie when I was like 12 or something. And so, you're not too worried about like, oh, it's not Sean Connery, it's not Roger Moore, it's this weird guy, I didn't really care. But I think after like revisiting a whole bunch, I think I just liked the structure of it and how it was different than everything else kind of within James Bond. And then kind of as I got older, and I know like Christopher Nolan, he loves that movie, just like the structure of it and kind of the scenery of everything in it. And I think I just liked it for kind of its contrary view of Bond and the fact that like he gets married and then she dies at the end. Oh man, I don't know. I just love it because it's so weird. The entire thing probably should have never happened the way it did. But I think I just like it for being different and just the set pieces I love and the soundtrack. Usually when I'm at work, I can't listen to music that has lyrics in it because I get like totally confused. And so I'll throw on a James Bond soundtrack, and it's usually that one. But I don't know. I can definitely see that it definitely has its faults for sure.
Well, I think you said a couple of really illuminating things there. I think one is that, and we see this a lot where we are in LA, where if people are exposed to the same thing too often, variety is sometimes of greater value than necessarily whether it's good or not. Just something different can be kind of fun.
And honestly, the things he's saying he likes about it, I like about it also. But
yeah, I'm trying to think back to the reasons why we felt so negatively about it.
I could go into it again, but we should probably just let people listen to that
podcast. Did we really
podcast.
trash it that bad? I feel like the only thing I remember that we didn't like was that the action sequences go on for way too long.
I think between the three of us, we trashed it really bad, but each in our own. I was pretty hard on George, and Harris was pretty hard on
pacing.
the editing and the story. And
I can't remember if you guys like Telly Savalas or not.
I liked Telly Savalas, but they didn't. Remember.
I think he's definitely my least favorite Blofeld, and also I think my least favorite fake Blofeld. Now that we're getting into the fake Blofeld era, where every movie has a pseudo Blofeld in it.
I definitely agree with that.
And I think it's also interesting that you like the soundtrack.
So it was kind of normal for me,
Right.
I think it's interesting that you like the soundtrack because it's true. This would probably be one of the better soundtracks to do other work to, since there's nothing really super catchy or memorable. It's solid music as always, but it
doesn't have a theme.
It doesn't have that hook that's gonna distract you.
Mm-hmm.
And it has that the non-vocal instrumental only intro, which is a little different.
Right.
Which probably as a theme song, it's probably not great, but just that song kind of in the action sequences, I like quite a bit. But I think the interesting thing is I don't think I could ever imagine seeing Sean Connery actually do that movie for the emotional scenes, because I don't know. It would look really funny, I feel, because Sean Connery is just in all of his movies, he's kind of just like the womanizer, doesn't really give a shit.
His only emotion is slapping.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's unique, and I think I just kind of always watch it in that point of view.
So take us through, like, you listening to the podcast. You're like, okay, I'm on Reddit. Oh, there's this James Bond podcast. Let me listen to this. Oh, it's my favorite movie. I'm going to, love this episode. And then you just, like, take us through the levels of rage.
Oh, man. I was just thinking about it today. I kind of go through swings of different things I'm interested in. I liked a lot of the Marvel stuff, and I was really into that. Now I was kind of going back into a James Bond swing. So I've been listening to a few James Bond podcasts, and I usually just listen to you guys and James Bonding. And the night I actually listened to you guys, I was cleaning out the basement of my house, and I was going in. It was like 4 hours into me trying to clean my basement, so I was already pretty pissed off. And then I was like, oh wow, someone posted on Her Majesty's Secret Service podcast on Reddit. So I was like, oh perfect, I'll listen to this. And I think it was just like me being pissed off of cleaning, and then just like I've only listened to James Bonding before, and so like you're kind of just expecting the same type of thing, and you guys are definitely different, and that's a good thing for sure. And I just remember like hoping you guys would like it because it's my favorite James Bond movie, and then like all those expectations just imploding on themselves. But yeah, I know when I was writing on Reddit, I was like trying not to be a dick and like trying to be constructive, and then I was just, it didn't really work, I suppose. But no, I went back and listened to all your guys' other podcasts, and I think I like it for like the contrasts, because I don't really talk about James Bond with too many people, because I don't know that many people that love James Bond that much. And so, like, you're so used to just, like, hearing the same opinions. And so, like, when you hear someone else's opinion, it's kind of like, at first you don't like it, and you're like, oh, okay, you kind of look at why someone has those opinions, which I like.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, are there any other, like, like, as you move forward and you listened to more of them, were there any other, like, things that stood out to you or anything like that, or any particular episodes that you would want to talk about now?
I'm trying to remember. I think I was really surprised. I feel like Harris was the only person that liked From Russia with Love.
That's true. Yes.
That's really shocking to me.
And I think I overrated it heavily just to offset how lowly these other guys rated it.
There's parts of it I like.
Yeah, I don't think we found any movie that we all like really despised.
Yeah, the truth of it is, like, if we didn't like them all, we wouldn't do this.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean,
yeah. It's definitely been interesting to see which ones you guys like, because it seems like it's always very different, which is always really surprising to me. But it's pretty interesting.
Well, that brings us to our current. We're in the Moonraker podcast, so really quickly, you got a hot take on Moonraker for us to launch us into this episode?
Oh boy, it's going to be a rough one, guys. It's gonna be a rough one.
I think that pretty much says it all.
Probably my favorite, and this is my least favorite of all, pretty much all of them, I think.
Really?
Oh, yeah, I'm on Team Wentz on this one. All right.
Well,
yeah, and I felt bad for C-Rock too, because man, I don't know what you're going to do with that song.
I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by that, though. He's nailed this one.
Yeah, the new song's really good, actually.
Yeah, I think this song might be my favorite. So.
Wow.
Not the song in the movie,
I'll
but
check it out when you guys release the podcast.
And I'm just gonna give you a heads up, Tom. I like Moonraker a lot.
Oh snap!
So sorry.
I mean, any movie that has Space Marines has to have some credit given to it.
Exactly.
It was ahead of its time. I mean, that's a real thing now, right?
Yeah.
Didn't Trump just start
Space Marines?
Space
I mean, they didn't even
Apparently
have
Donald
alien
Trump
Space
watched
Marines.
Moonraker, so we got that going for us. But I will say, after watching the James Bond movies a million times, just recently I started reading the books, and the book for Moonraker has been my favorite so far. It's absolutely nothing like the movie, but it's actually really good. I'd recommend it.
Yeah, I was reading they used the plot of the book for some of the plots of the later ones, particularly GoldenEye and Die Another Day, I believe.
I think that's right.
Mainly the character of Trevelyan is a lot like the character of Drax in the book. Except not a Nazi.
I guess, no, I could definitely
Trevelyan's
see that.
like a Soviet version of what Nazi Drax was in the book, or something like that. and
yeah,
also more
definitely.
modern.
I hadn't thought about that. That's totally right for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I picked them up. I started reading them in order, and I was expecting them to be pretty bad because they were from like the 50s. But I mean, they're at moments they're incredibly racist. They're pretty well written.
Nice. Yeah, we'll have to. None of us have really. Have you read the books?
I a lot of times I'll read the Wikipedia summary of the book. That's how I knew. That's how I knew what I knew.
You're
Just
such
now.
a millennial.
Notes version.
Yeah.
I've read Casino Royale. That's it. It's good though.
Yeah,
Well,
they're
maybe
pretty
we'll-
short. They're
Yeah.
definitely not long.
I think I read it on a plane.
We'll either have to speed read all of them for an episode, or we'll have to have a guest who has read all of them and talk. We'll do a mini episode.
Literary
or something.
expansion.
Yeah, literary expansion, exactly. Well, hey, Tom, we got to get going, but thanks for letting us do this with you, and maybe we can chat you up again in the future if you'll have us.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for listening.
Take it easy, guys. Looking forward to listening.
All right.
Cool. Take care.
Bye.
All right, there we
that
go.
was the first episode of From Whence It Came.
From whence it came, there was.
All right.
All right, let's get to this.
Back to Moonraker.
This piece of work.
All right. So it's
Yes.
1979. We have
Yeah.
Lewis Gilbert back in the director's chair. New DP because the guy from the last movie lost his vision. But we have the usual suspects of Ken Adams doing production design, Maurice Binder's doing the titles. Christopher Wood is back writing this one. The biggest change in this, as Matt's lovely intro pointed out, was that we went from, I think, a $14 million budget on the last movie to a $34 million budget. And keep in mind that the budget on The Spy Who Loved Me was already double the previous film's budget. So they've more than doubled the doubling of the. So they're betting big on this movie, and it paid off.
Yeah, and you can tell the budget's bigger. If you can't tell in the beginning of the movie, by the end of the movie, you will have realized like
They spent
this
some
cost
money.
a lot.
Yeah.
Especially and the Ken Adams stuff. This is the last Ken Adam one, right? I think.
And it's the last Lewis Gilbert, too?
I think
Yeah,
it's
the last
definitely the
him.
last Lewis Gilbert, and
I think it's the last Ken Adam, and this is like
It is the
this
last
is his
Ken.
like.
swan song.
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely his swan song.
They even like the so there's a set where the set collapses in on itself so that a rocket can be shot out of the top of the set, in terms of the story, and that was supposed to have another scene, and they didn't even get that
So they built this whole set for like no reason, basically.
Right.
for like 2 minutes.
There's supposed to
of
be a
screen
conference
time.
room scene,
It's
but
one of the-
instead
it's-
they walk in and the conference
It's
room
like
table
it's one of these like
folds up.
great sets that's like this is an all-time like
It's a classic
set
Ken
building
Adams set, too.
Yeah,
It's like
and
that sort
and
of
it gets 2 minutes of
modernist,
screen time.
concrete.
And the Anaconda room, that's like an amazing set. That's like 2 minutes of screen time.
Yep.
The grotto.
The grotto.
Yeah. No, great as usual. Great sets. And I guess this will be the last time. We'll get to see how the sets change.
Did you read the
moving
trivia
forward.
about that? So shooting in France now instead of Britain, and France's labor laws, the set builders wouldn't do overtime because they just didn't do that.
They only work 8 hours a day.
Yeah,
That's it.
And Ken Adams like, well, like I don't know how to build these sets without people doing overtime because like these are Ken Adams sets. And and so they decided to just we'll just come in, and so that on Sundays they would bring the set builders would bring their whole families to set and build the set with their families there with them.
It was the only way.
Yeah, well for the French it was the only way.
All right, so let's jump into the beginning here. So
I can imagine
the-
them doing like tons of hammering with like the baguette in one hand and like the hammer in the other, and then like switching to wine and
The wine later in the day.
then
The
there's
hammering gets a little worse. Yeah.
you're making a wall.
let's
Oui,
jump.
oui.
Yeah.
Marcel, bring me more wine.
More wine.
I used my baguette as a hammer, and I ate my hammer.
The set builders get too drunk. They're like having sword fights with the baguettes, and the little kids are doing that too. And I don't know.
You're painting a rich picture of French.
I think I'm-
provincial French set building life.
Yeah, I think there's probably French people who would be offended by the stereotyping. So sorry about that. But
No, but not the accents. I think our accents were spot on.
So we got the gun barrel sequence.
It's
It's
the
the
same
same
old
one as the last one.
bell-bottom tux.
Enough said.
Yep.
All right, so then we got the cold open. It has some similarities to the previous movies.
this is a cold
There's a
open that has
parachute in
been
it. It's-
ripped off in tons of parodies. The classic like he jumps out of the plane and doesn't have a parachute, so he has to catch the guy with the parachute and take it from him.
But is that a parody, or is this the first time?
Well, I've seen it in. I know Get Smart uses it,
but it's also.
And then there's another movie I know I've seen that exact same thing in. That's
Point
like
Break.
a major movie. Oh,
actually,
and they use it in Spy Hard with Leslie Nielsen. I'm pretty sure they use it in that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been used in parodies. It's also been used in actual action movies several times. It's a cool idea.
You're both looking at me like it doesn't count if no one's seen the movies you're talking about.
But they did it for real. They really jumped out of the plane.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It took 80 tries or something
88.
Like that?
They jumped out of the plane 88 times. They shot this 1-2-minute sequence of these guys skydiving and fighting in the air for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So like basically, people shoot entire features in 5 weeks. They spent it doing 2 minutes at the beginning of this movie because basically they had to send everyone up with these specially rigged parachutes under their clothes.
But you can do that when your budget is just like as much as possible.
Yeah. So the cold open starts off with a shuttle hijacking where the shuttle's being carried on the back of a jumbo jet, and these two guys in leather jackets who don't look like they're dressed like pilots or hijackers. They look like they're dressed like muggers in like an old-fashioned movie from the 50s.
Yeah,
they're kind of swarthy,
yeah.
And they jump onto this thing, and then they blow up the jumbo jet by taking off in the shuttle on it. Which, at what point in filmmaking did they realize that if a plane blows up in midair, it doesn't just like stop and just drop straight down, like it continues flying forward? Because the special effects consistently in all films of this era are always like the helicopter explodes even though it was flying forward, and then it just like drops like a turd.
That's because they're using models.
I know, but can they
they couldn't propel?
They couldn't propel the model forward. At some point, they do figure it out, and it doesn't look stupid. But we're not there yet, so this looks stupid.
This film has the best job of actually like cutting together the stunt people with the rear projection or the green screen stuff.
Yeah.
Like they do it the best in this that they've done it so far.
Well, apparently the stuntman for this sequence looked remarkably like Roger Moore when he cut his hair and shaved his beard or whatever. So they were able to get like tight close-ups of him, and it actually looked like Roger Moore, even though it wasn't him.
So I've got a question about this cold open where Bond is in the plane, and again, for I think the third time in this series, somebody, instead of just shooting him with the gun they have on him, decides to lock him into a plane and then crash the plane and leave him in the plane, where surely he won't be able to escape from this. Right. Where, obviously it would make a lot more sense to just shoot him. But they decide to leave him in this plane, and of course, Bond knocks the gun away from the guy's hand and then throws him out of the plane. And then suddenly, as he's watching this guy fall, he's pushed from behind by Jaws, who was on this tiny plane.
Somehow.
The 7-foot guy was hidden on this tiny plane, and Bond didn't notice him.
And
I don't know how
what
far
happens to the woman, because we get a nice little gag at the beginning,
right?
Like, M says to Moneypenny.
Yep.
M says to Moneypenny, "Is 007 back yet?"
He's on his last leg.
He's on his last leg, sir.
And
slam cut
to JB's hand coming up the leg.
Which, if you remember, this is like, kind of what I was getting at before, is like this movie is sort of a carbon copy of Spy Who Loved Me in the beats, in terms of beats.
Totally.
It's like, it's working its way to be like a carbon copy.
It has tons of similarities.
And as we all rated The Spy Who Loved Me very highly, this makes a lot of sense from their perspective. We've nailed it. We've got the formula perfect. Let's not change a single freaking thing.
Well, let's change a few things.
And then they were like, but let's blast them into space.
Yeah.
But my other question is, if you've got Jaws on this plane to presumably execute James Bond, why doesn't he come out with the other guy with the gun? And why is he like the hidden surprise? And the reason is because this is stupid. But it's
what happened to that woman?
Yeah,
notice she hands the gun off, steps aside, grabs a parachute, but then we never see her jump out of the plane.
She took her time. She had to use the restroom on the airplane before she jumped out. All the men are gone.
As the controls are exploded, she's just like, I'm going to use the lavatory. Hold on.
Well, you don't know when you're going to get to another one, especially if you're parachuting out at the end.
When you got to go.
What's the etiquette on that? Is it if you're in free fall? How long of free fall are you allowed to or when are you allowed to just go?
Are you
just
talking about
going to the bathroom
evacuating
and-
your bowels while falling from the sky?
I thought when you were talking about etiquette, I thought you were talking about really stinking up that bathroom. And I'm like, that plane's going down. You could wreck that. Just wreck it and get on.
Imagine
I don't
the
really know where
feeling
I was
of
going with it. I
urinating
just like
freely while free falling from the sky.
that's what I was thinking about.
That's true
actually.
freedom.
That is true freedom.
Yeah.
None of us have ever realized.
You got a little
true
Walkman
freedom.
with a cassette player of Tom Petty. And
I want to
free.
see. I want to see Bond do that.
Yeah.
When you've got to go, you've got to go.
The cold open ends.
Do we want to see Bond do that though? You say that so confidently, and if that was put into a movie, I feel like you would maybe not like it.
Probably a questionable decision. Yeah.
You hear a lot of.
So the cold open ends with Jaws' parachute failing to open, and he plummets from thousands of feet in the air through the roof of a circus tent.
Which another giant set, or like it is that an actual
Basically,
circus?
for one shot, they put up a huge circus tent and into a trapeze artist net, which of course he survives.
Well, they just sent a
And-
second unit to a circus. Right?
Ending,
It's a
I
real
guess,
circus.
yeah.
But they actually collapsed the tent, though.
Well,
Yeah.
the tent I think was a model.
Yeah.
I think the tent was a model.
Well, there you go. But that ends
with the program, Harris.
the dumbest cold open in the history of the world.
Well, it's really good up until like
The gag.
in this one Jaws is literally a cartoon character. It's like a Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner thing.
Mm-hmm.
Every time we see him evade Jaws, we see Jaws like make a funny face and then get like splatted or bopped or powed or whatever, and he walks away fine. He's
Yeah.
literally a cartoon
Yeah,
character.
they took that invincibility gag, which actually made him kind of menacing from the last one, even though I think we
Yeah.
all agreed that they pushed it a little too far in the last one, especially with the stupid car driving through the roof.
Well, now they push it way too
But
far.
now they push it way too far. Now they've just taken that idea that he's indestructible and they've made it basically a joke, which
But-
is what they make everything in this movie into.
Did you read that the director got fan mail from a little kid who thought Jaws was really cool but didn't want him to be a baddie? He wanted him to be a goodie.
Yeah, and to that I say, then grow up and direct your own James Bond movie, kid. That's stupid.
Well, that's not what the director of this one said.
No.
All right, so then it goes into the song. Let's talk about the song.
I like it. It's like I would say Chris gives it a thumbs down.
I would say it's a total snooze fest.
it's a
Chris, did-
sleepy kind of a song.
Chris, did you see
Yeah.
this movie?
You know what? Actually, this time I didn't.
Well, he threw us for a loop there.
Yeah.
Well, you did see it?
No,
Oh.
of course he didn't.
I couldn't tell if he said did or didn't.
Well, he didn't.
Didn't.
Oh,
And I sympathize with him, honestly, having to make the beat for this song because it's not that it's a bad song. It's just it doesn't have a lot going on
it's
with
like
it.
a sleepy kind of a song.
It seems like
It'd be like a lullaby.
it seems like if Shirley Bassey was making an album, this would be like a filler track towards the back half of it. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not a good
why do
hooky
you, why
James
do you have
Bond
to call it a
thing.
filler track? You can't call it a deep track.
because it's not. I think that implies some kind of quality that it doesn't have.
Hold on. I think Chris wants to tell us a little bit about this beat, which is awesome, by the way.
All right, so I felt like this sample sucked so bad that I needed to pull in some reinforcements. Is the nice way to say it. Just wanted to shout out Jonathan, I'm in a duo with him now. Jonathan Mendoza and I'm C Rock, so we go by Mendo Rock. Basically, I'm kind of in charge of percussion, arrangement, mixing, etc., and he's been doing all of the instrumentation, writing all the music and stuff like that. So just real quickly on my mini-sode hype, hope you guys enjoyed it and it wasn't too long. This is the first of the Mendo Rock era of this one, and all I took was just one loop at the very end of the song. That's all I could even find that was of any value or use. And then we kind of put our little lo-fi chill hop spin on it. So it's the death of the trap music era of all the Bond stuff. It's now moving into Mendo Rock, like chill hop stuff. And it was also, we're working on a secret project that I'm not going to say too much about, but I've been doing a lot of the sound design stuff that you heard. And that's why I was texting you. I was like, is there like a beach or like something else in this? And you were like, no, dummy, it's in space. So that's why I did all the like space shuttle sound effects, and my bad I didn't put any lasers in there, even though you asked me to.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to give a shout out to Mendo Rock. We're going to have albums, music, and stuff like that coming out. And from here on out, it'll be Mendo Rock.
You guys have a different
intros.
SoundCloud? It's just called Mendo Rock?
Yeah. So also, if you listen to the last episode, I did want to correct something. It was my SoundCloud, but because now we're just doing everything together because I can't write music or do anything, he's handling that. I'm handling percussion, like I said. We've just changed my SoundCloud to just be soundcloud.com/Mendo Rock. And it's
No dots or anything?
no dots, anything, just Mendo, ROCC, you know, how I usually spell rock. It's got all the old stuff still on there, so have no fear. But then I'm starting a new playlist with, you know, this era on, which we talked about is like the music is going to probably change because, you know, the eras of Bonds are
Bond
changing,
era,
all that kind of stuff. So I thought it was kind of a fitting thing to do that, and thanks for letting that happen. And I hope you guys, you know, enjoyed it, especially Wentz. I hope you liked it because you were skeptical. And actually, it sounds like you guys all in this room kind of liked it. So
I like
Yeah. My least favorite thing about the original song is that it's talking about this Moonraker, this guy who's raking the moon. I'm like, what the hell is that? So did any of you look up what a Moonraker
I did. I
is?
looked up the word.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
My takeaway was that, it's a real word.
Yeah, yeah, no, but clearly, my takeaway was that what are they using this made up word like? But I guess if you're English, maybe this makes a little more sense because it was started in Wiltshire, England, where these guys were smuggling back in the day, and apparently the sort of the apocryphal fairy tale version of the story is some people came along, they had smuggled some French wine and they had sunk it into the bottom of a pond, and they were in the process of grabbing it out with some hooks and stuff, and somebody came along and was like, hey, what are you guys doing? You're not smuggling French wine, are you? And they were like, no, we're trying to scrape the moon off the reflection of this pond. So they were called Moonrakers, these smuggler guys, which is kind of cool and way more interesting than this entire movie.
Well, it has other meanings too.
Yeah, from there it became a word that meant someone who like always tried to reach like out of their grasp kind of thing, right?
It's like someone who's really
ambitious.
Yeah. Which could be Drax.
Or it could be Bond.
Right.
It works on so many levels.
Yeah.
It's also the highest sail on a ship.
Oh yeah.
Oh
that's true,
yeah.
too. Well, good to know. So it is a real thing. In fact, it's several real things. What did we think about Maurice Binder's title sequence? Naked women, silhouettes, some flying, falling, diving, shit like that.
It's pretty cool. They use more like computer stuff, like when he turns into reversey dots, or the women turn into like reversey dots. You like that part? I like that part.
Reversey dots?
Yeah, reversey was this old like. Did you ever play Minesweeper?
oh, it's like the little LED.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like little red
yeah.
blue dots. Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about? Reversey?
Yes.
Like it was like
I thought you were saying
like on the
play
old
word
on the old
reverse.
Windows, like Windows before they started putting numbers on it or whatever. You got like Minesweeper and Solitaire. Reversey was like another one of those games you got, and it's like you click blue and it turns red, and you're red team, and then like blue team gets to go, and they switch so many dots every time. There's more dots, and you want to get more blue dots than red dots, unless
But
you're
we're going
red.
to save the rest of this for Colin's Reversey podcast, which will be launching next week.
Reversey fans everywhere,
This
rise
segment
up.
is called Colin is Weird.
I felt like this title sequence was a little phoned in, not just because the song wasn't that
But it
hot.
costs more than the whole budget of Dr. No.
I know,
That's
it's
insane.
a bad sign.
What is the budget of Dr. No? How much could this thing cost?
Like
It's
10 grand probably. That's my guess.
10 grand of a $34 million movie? It had to cost more than that.
How
That
much
also was
Dr.
something.
No's budget?
I think that also
More than
is-
10 grand, I would think.
I think that statement that Albert Broccoli said was maybe possibly a little bit of hyperbole. He might
Said
have
in
just
frustration?
been said in frustration.
possible.
Well, say what you will about this sequence, it makes it pretty clear right from the cold open and the titles exactly the kind of stuff we're in for in this movie.
So, Colin, do you want to try your hand at summarizing the rest of this movie in 2 minutes?
Tell me when you're ready.
Okay, let me collect myself.
Count it
Okay.
down. Do a 3, 2, 1.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
All right, so James Bond, he knows the space shuttle is missing, and he's like, okay, who makes the space shuttles? And they're like, oh, well, they're manufactured by Drax Industries. Maybe you should go check it out. He's out in California. Bond lands in L.A., and he is like, hey, there's a hot helicopter pilot from Drax here to take me to the Drax Industries. He hops in. There's a little bit of chemistry. They fly over. It turns out Drax took a whole French chateau and just shipped it to California and lives there now with like a whole bunch of like hot women doing like calisthenics and having tea and things like that. And they meet. He's obviously a creepy guy. And he's like, why don't you check out the operation? And then he goes to look around. He meets Holly Goodhead, Dr. Holly Goodhead. And him and her, exchange greetings. And it turns out she's on loan from NASA. And they start to look around. And then they try to kill Bond. And then she goes away and she comes back. And she's like, oh, I can't believe they tried to kill you. And he's like, oh, whatever. And and so then he finds some other stuff while he sleeps with a woman there. And then he realizes he has to go to Venice. So he's in Venice. He's looking around at this glass shop. And it turns out they're making glass stuff to contain nerve gas. And he also sees Holly Goodhead there again. Big coincidence? I guess not. He sneaks into her room. It turns out she's CIA. And they bang. So the next thing that happens is they realize they have to go to Rio because all the shipments are going there. They go to Rio. They start looking around. Jaws is still trying to kill Bond the whole time. And then they captured Dr. Holly Goodhead. Then he goes upriver onto the Amazon and he finds Drax's secret base where they're launching all the rockets, and it's the Moonraker rockets. He's got them all, and they're going to space to make a space base. He's going to kill humanity and bring back down his own super race that he's building. Oh, and then Bond defeats him with Space Marines.
That goes without saying. Not your best work.
Yeah. They just barely got into space, and that's like the last third of the movie.
I got really caught up on. I got caught up in the. I like this one. I get caught up in.
You were totally caught up in that. Like as soon as you started talking about him shipping the mansion over from France, I'm like, we're getting a little too detailed. We're done. We're done.
That's a pretty good detail though.
Yeah. So
you know who I missed is the Bond girl in Rio. She
pops
really
up,
nice.
And the helicopter pilot
is
Manuela, yeah.
The tragic helicopter pilot.
Yeah, she's the one he has sex with for
Florida.
information. Yeah. And then she gets killed by Drax's trained dogs, which was a tragic scene.
My favorite scene of this movie. Because
I didn't expect you to say that, sorry.
No. I'm just saying because it was really creepy. Like they had it was really well shot in the woods, and the music
is creepy.
I don't know if I've ever heard that. It felt like a scene out of a Dario Argento movie or something like that. This woman's running from these maniac dogs that are going to eat her alive, and she's running through the woods, and it's legit freaky.
And honestly, it has, if you count the location all as one scene, it has one of the most iconic Bond moments from this movie, where the one that we've seen, parodied and done over many times, where Drax is out hunting with his hunting cronies shooting quail or pheasant.
Quail.
Is it? I think he says pheasant when he says they have a little quip where he's like, "Oh, hunting's such good sport," and he's like, "Not for the pheasants."
Yeah, I think the quails are smaller.
Yeah. You know what? I watched something else last night that involved shooting quail, and that's what I'm thinking.
Oh, right. Of course.
Mm-hmm. No, I really did. It's Sacha Baron Cohen's new show. Have you guys watched that?
No, I don't. I know a little bit about it.
He interviews Dick Cheney.
Conservative people.
He interviews Dick Cheney, and he's talking about shooting quail, and he's like, "You shot Vice President Dan Quayle."
That totally. We're getting sidetracked. Yeah. The scene I'm talking about is Drax is out there shooting pheasant, and Bond is brought to him, and he's like, "Why don't you join us?" And Bond's like, "Not into it." And then he hands Bond a gun anyways, and he's got a guy in a tree that's gonna shoot Bond. And Bond shoots at the pheasant and misses it, but kills the guy in the tree that's going to assassinate Bond. And he's like, "You missed." And he's like, Did I?
And then the guy falls out of the tree, and Bond walks away. And it's like, wait, what the hell just happened? Did he just murder some dude in a tree? And they're all acting like it's no big deal.
Or better yet, did he just acknowledge that Drax was trying to kill him?
Exactly.
And didn't just annihilate him right there?
How is this not more of a confrontation at this point where it's like, that guy with a sniper rifle that was in a tree that was aiming a sniper rifle at me that I just shot.
Dude, you just confirmed that you're a villain.
Yeah, you can't have that happen and then just be like,
"I'm sorry.
Oh, it's cool, man. I'm gonna head on out."
Drax is too rich for him to kill him right there on the spot. The British government would get upset. You can kill the lackey, in the tree. The nameless guy in the tree, he can easily be killed.
But what I'm saying is,
but if he turns and points the gun at Drax and kills him right there in the field, there's going to be an investigation, and all
I
that
think
Drax
what we're
money is
saying,
going to come
Colin,
up against the British
I think
government.
what we're saying, Colin,
And-
is that if James Bond goes there and James Bond and Drax up until this point are still pretending like everything's cool and they're like on good terms or something, but once you start murdering henchmen right in front of everybody, doesn't that sort of the pretense? But yet after this happens, they're just sort of like, all right, well, see you later. Guess I'm gonna be hitting the old dusted trail.
Till next time,
Well,
Drax.
because Bond is supposed to be pretending he didn't know there was a guy killing him.
Yeah, but he doesn't even if he was pretending like he didn't know that
Well,
was guy was trying to
because
kill him,
he's got
he
to
still
get
shot a guy that fell out of a tree and like yelled.
No, because Bond's objective is to find out why the shuttle is missing. Okay, he knows Drax is evil
Bond
and is
shoots
trying to kill him.
So Bond shoots a guy
But
in a
it's-
tree, and then and the guy falls out of a tree, and Bond's
Because-
like, "Ooh, I guess I missed."
Yeah. Because
Like,
if
what
Bond,
was their conversation after that
Yeah,
scene?
sorry
like, in
about
the
that
lobby?
tree guy.
They just left. He just leaves.
So that was awkward.
He just
So did that guy die?
no. He
Like,
has
you're
to.
just gonna leave him there?
He has to pretend he doesn't know he killed that guy, because then Drax might give him more
But I mean,
information.
it's
But
implied
they
that
watched
they
him
watched
fall
the
out of
guy
a
fall out of the
tree.
tree.
But Bond doesn't say, I saw that guy fall out of the tree. He just says, I guess I missed.
Yeah.
So that gives Drax the opportunity to say, like, oh, well, stop investigating this stolen shuttle because I stole it, you dick.
Let's break Drax down. Let's talk about him.
As a character,
Yeah,
as an actor.
as both.
Well, he's another Stromberg like Blofeld knockoff. But he
I'd say
learned from Stromberg's all male review. He's got a slightly more forward thinking plan. It's not just a bunch of seamen. He's actually got human women joining his
Beautiful human.
Yeah, they're going
joining
to actually
his,
reproduce a new race of humanity.
Yeah, his whole
A
plan.
master race, if you will.
Yeah.
His whole plan is to go into space with these perfect couple. Bond makes a Noah's Ark reference at one point because there's a bunch of beautiful young men
He
and
makes
women.
a Hitler reference, too. He
And,
says master
yeah,
race.
Yes, he does both. And he's going to shoot poison gas across the entire globe, kill off humanity, and come back down with these people, which is great. It's much more reasonable than Stromberg's whole plan. I just realized while we were talking just now
That you
that's
love this movie.
no, that's why when Bond goes to Stromberg's mansion, he keeps on introducing him to these beautiful young like heiresses and countesses and stuff. Like there's
Right.
there's two different scenes where these,
You mean Drax?
There's these rich beautiful women. I just figured out these rich beautiful women are the people who are funding and getting to like the rich beautiful people get
You
to
didn't
go up
figure
into
that out?
space.
You just figured that out
man.
now?
I
That's
just
like one of
figured that out
that's one
now.
of the best parts about the writing of this movie.
well, no, I
It's
knew
like,
that-
because like Drax doesn't say that much, but he is giving the plan away hard.
But I understood that when I understood that the astronauts were like selected through
Yeah.
certain criteria. But the beautiful women that we meet at the mansion aren't dressed up like astronauts. They're like in gowns having tea with him and stuff.
I think it's even more. I think like you know how he introduces them all formally, right? So you think that means they're aristocratic. I think it means they're both aristocratic and both people because he always says Duchess this and then like the lady this or something
Right,
like
right.
that. So I think it's like one's like someone who paid that much and one is someone he picked.
Oh, okay.
You know what I
That's
mean?
good. You got a little deep analysis of
Because this is a much better villain. You don't get a lot of backstory on him.
That's
you
true.
get his plan, and you get that he's like upset enough about whatever it is to do this plan. But
I
like,
don't have
is
any
he-
objection to the
he's
plan. The
not
plan is
British.
actually
He's
pretty
not
smart.
British because he says the
I
British
think he's-
gave
I think he's
us
French.
tea.
He's French. Yeah.
Well, the guy's French in real life, but is the character French? Because that accent is like what?
He's got a French chateau, and he's
No, but
Clearly-
that's part of the character though. He takes the best things from each country and
All right.
society, right? So he says like the best way to live is in a French mansion. So I'm going to ship it to California where I live.
well, French actor. I'm going to assume he's French.
Yeah, but there's also the correlation between Hitler, which is like
Yeah.
they try to make that.
See, I don't think the character is French. I think the character's backstory would be really interesting.
But I'm
because-
saying his motivation. You're saying like you don't know
Right.
his backstory, why he wants to do this.
His motivation, you can tell, is to like build this master race. It's like a Hitler thing, right? But like you don't know how he got there. But like I'm saying, the character is pretty well fleshed out, except for that. And it's well portrayed, except for that. And he has the like classic passiveness of a Bond villain, where he's like standing in the same room with him with his hands behind his back, just talking
Right.
about how he wants to kill him.
And then Bond leaves the room, and a henchman approaches, and he says, "Inflict some pain on Mr.
Yeah.
Bond, or like
Yeah,
make sure
see that
he's-
some harm comes to him.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Make him dead."
And he tells that to his bodyguard Chang.
Yeah.
Toshiro
The Chang fight
Shuga.
is,
Or as I have him here, Asian manservant.
yeah, exactly.
I call him the majordomo.
The fight with him in Venice is like one of my least favorite scenes. It's just an excuse to break a whole lot of sugar
But
glass.
that's the whole movie. Is like every action scene is like, yeah, but how can we make it funnier? I feel like this is like a movie that's like a spoof of the James Bond films. It's like where they just start spoofing themselves of like every action sequence or whatever is like, yeah, but there's no laughs in this. Let's just make it funny.
Well,
like
a
they
lot
just
of the
try to-
sequences in this movie are like carryovers that they never got to do from other movies. Like the boat chase scene was something that they wanted to do in the previous movie, and then like the glass fighting was supposed to happen in the Egypt pyramid scene in the previous one.
But like that would have made like if it was made in like an Egyptian museum of artifacts, that would have been okay. But to turn it into a glass museum, it's like that's like the most on the nose stupid.
Well, but Venice actually has like a glass blowing tradition.
I'm not saying that there's.
I've been to Venice.
I'm not saying that they're not like
These movies are very culturally
loosely
sound.
tying it together. I'm just saying that being like, oh, you know what would be awesome? A guy's fighting in a room full of priceless glass, and then they smash everything. That would be so funny. That's like feels like the screenwriting philosophy behind this.
But that's what you're talking about. It's like, okay, we're in Venice. We're gonna have them like break priceless glass because we're gonna have them do stuff with glass because it's Venice and we do know that part of the culture. But then it's like, how can we just keep cranking this up more and more? What's literally the most sugar glass ever put on screen before? And that's what they did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like they took what they had and they just kept pushing
But
it.
that doesn't
Upping
move the
the
needle for
ante.
me.
Yeah.
So when Chang dies, he throws him out of a clock tower window,
love
and he
that.
goes through a piano.
This is the best
And
quote.
we actually see him, like we see the body of this guy he's not Jaws. He doesn't get to survive. He never comes back again. We see this guy fall through a grand piano and like dangle there among the keys, like his limp, lifeless body. It's a brutal death for a movie that's like cartoony and silly. You see some really brutal deaths in this one.
And then
Speaking
what-
of death in this movie, there's a lot of it.
yeah.
Oh yeah, a lot of people die. But wait. But what does James Bond say after the guy dies in the piano?
I forget.
Play it again, Sam.
Oh,
Yeah. The jokes are so bad. You know what? I was just I wanted to talk about this because this is my like. I had a moment of realization. It was when at the beginning of the movie, Q shows James Bond his little wrist gun, and it's a gun that straps to his wrist and shoots little darts. And Bond quips, if you can call it that, "Oh, get him into stores in time for Christmas," and all the other characters in the room, M and Q and all the other characters, roll their eyes.
Didn't he use that joke before on cue?
He might have. I'm just saying
I think
that
he used it about the little Nelly helicopter or something. Like, aren't you going to give this to your daughter for Christmas or something? I'm
just
pretty
saying,
sure he used the Christmas joke in another movie.
Because he's James Bond, he's the star of the show. We grew up thinking, oh, he's really cool and everyone wants to be him. I always think of like, oh, that must be a really clever joke. And then I noticed that all the other characters are like, oh, Jesus. And I just thought like, there's some other world where James Bond is that guy at the office that thinks he's funny and everyone else just groans and tries not to get stuck in a conversation with him. Like he's like the guy who never gets invited to any of the outside of work parties.
Well,
and
they also have him do that.
at Moneypenny's house tonight. What? No.
no, man, I don't know. No, I think I'm just gonna stay in.
Can I come? Please.
Like, do we even know, is Q's actual nickname Q, or is that just the annoying nickname that he makes up for everybody? And he really wants to be called
name's Steve, damn it.
Major Boothright, and he just keeps on calling him Q. He's
Everyone
like,
else calls me Major Booth,
the
right?
Q Meister, Jamira Q. Hey, what do you say we get some apps at TGI Fridays after work tonight, buddy? No,
Oh,
tomorrow.
no.
No?
That's sad. Now you're depressing me. I could never see James Bond in a TGI Fridays
You-
unless
that
the
would-
whole place got blown up.
That wouldn't be the natural way to see him.
Yeah.
But now I'm just picturing him eating his happy hour apps alone and being like, maybe they'll stop by. I told them all I was here, you know, like.
They also do the classic thing where Bond like knows more about everything and like he cuts them off to like say
With the what's her name, Holly Goodhead.
yeah, he does it
where
with her and he does it with M.
She's giving him a tour
Yeah.
of this place that she works at.
He's like,
and he's
"Oh."
like finishing her sentences and being like, "Oh, this is what this," like mansplaining everything to her. And I'm just like, man, this guy's the worst.
Yeah, that's actually my least favorite part of their interactions because I really like her and I like their interactions overall, but he does like mansplain her and like it's again like this thing where like he's so overqualified for what he's doing. Like, yeah, I'm here to like kill and like not die, but like also I'm just as qualified as anyone NASA's gonna shoot up there.
Let's get into her
Like,
a little
what?
bit. Let's
You
talk about
are?
the girls of the movie.
Holly Goodhead.
Holly Goodhead.
Little on the nose.
Yeah.
That name is crazy.
She's a good she's one of the better actresses I think we've seen like play the lead female role.
Agree, Matt?
I mean, like, yeah, I thought she was fine.
I mean,
I thought
she's expressive. She's emotive. She's a little.
I felt like she was totally stiff. I can't
she's
believe
a little
we-
angry.
I can't believe
You know
we're watching
what?
The same movie.
It's coming back to me now. She was bad. She wasn't very.
I love the way you did that. Oh, you know what? It's coming back to me now. She was bad.
No, it
Matt's
is.
dog ate his homework today.
Yeah. No, it's coming back to me at the end. I remember like she didn't do Panic very well.
Yeah.
Like there were a lot of times where she's like, Bond, what do we do now?
And
You
I-
know, like
I heard that she was having trouble with some of the way that some of the dialogue was written, and I was like, "Yeah, I buy that." But it's all like she's a native English speaker, and it's written in English, and like, but it seems
Well,
like she had
okay, wait.
stilted
it's not
delivery.
that she was a bad
Hold on.
actress or bad in the role, but yeah, she
was
didn't-
bad in. She was one or the other. She was a bad actress, or she was bad in the role. She definitely wasn't a good actress that was good in the role.
Yes, she was.
She wasn't memorable. She was very kind of like
Oh man,
low key.
I remember. I don't know. I like her more and more every time I see the movie.
I actually like the other one. I like Manuela, and
Manuela,
I
I also like more and more
Corinne
every time I
Dufour,
see
who
the
was
movie.
played by Corinne Cleary.
I like all the women in
who's
this one. The women in this one are good.
Corinne Cleary's basically only other thing that she's done that was notable was before this she was in a S&M erotic thriller called The Story of O, which is quite famous. I have a feeling.
Oh wait, hold
I
on.
have a feeling it was on Cinemax.
Oh, look, I have it right here in my notes. Dr. Goodhead is a terrible actress.
Matt did do his homework. Well, that's why when Colin says she's a great actress,
wrote
and
in
I-
your notes.
Yeah,
Dr.
and I wrote
Goodhead
it. I
is
wrote it.
a terrible actress.
I wrote it towards the end. It was like during the
Return.
space laser battle. So like, I got fed up as the movie went.
So
Well,
so
I
when
like
Colin
her.
says she's great, and I ask for your second opinion, please refer to your notes next time.
Wait, hold on. Though, but like, I do have an excuse for her. I did read that because I read her whole Wikipedia, and
It's like
I did
it's
read that
literally like 3 paragraphs long.
her brother was diagnosed with cancer like around the same time. It's not a joke.
I know it's not a joke. It's just funny that this factors into your appraisal of her as an actress. I mean, I'm sure she's a lovely person, and I feel bad that she lost her brother.
Yeah, that's
but
horrible.
They said
That's
after
horrible.
the movie was over, she went and gave like not platelets or something.
Yeah,
like she
yeah.
gave blood like once every week or 2 weeks or something until he died.
yeah,
Super sad.
Terrible.
I'm so sorry I did this.
What an ass.
I'm sorry, but she's a good person. And then
She is a good
I also
person.
read she's Jordan Baker in The Great Gatsby with Robert Redford.
Oh yeah, yep.
which is awesome.
That's the only other thing I think I've ever seen her in.
And she was a uncredited cameo in Say Anything, the one where John Cusack holds the boombox over his head.
And she's uncredited in a deleted scene, a famous deleted scene from the first Austin Powers movie, where they did a bit where like one of the henchmen who gets steamrolled. Do you remember
Yeah.
that part
Yeah,
where
I
he's
remember
like,
that.
no, and the steamroller like slowly kills
Yeah,
him?
yeah.
They did a bit where they cut to his wife at home and they like called her to tell her like your husband. Like, I guess the age-old question of like, do these henchmen have lives? Like, who are
Yeah.
these people? And
Which
like,
is actually one of the, I think that's funnier than a lot of the stuff that happened in the movie.
it's
They
a great
definitely
bit
should've-
from Austin
it's a
Powers that
great
they
bit.
totally omitted from
Yeah.
the movie, but she plays the wife.
Yeah,
But it's on like the DVD if you want.
She's good.
The last Bond girl in this movie, unless you wanted to say something, anybody got anything to say about Manuela?
Manuela's just really pretty.
And survives,
And
despite
she's
being
a-
James Bond's
Honestly,
sidekick.
she's one of the ones that like she could have had more screen time, I think, and she didn't really get a lot. But I mean, she wasn't the lead. She was.
And finally, we have
Supporting actress.
Jaws' girlfriend,
Oh,
who,
boy.
is she falling out of her dress in the first scene that she's in? Because I feel like
I also like Jaws' girlfriend.
yes, I know. Well, here's my other question about Jaws' girlfriend.
Dolly. Her name's
yeah,
Dolly.
Dolly.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Whose idea was this? Why? And also, what the fuck?
Let's go back. Let's backtrack a little bit and say that Jaws is also in this movie.
And is also awful, just like the rest of this film.
Well, we already went over the
Jaws
cartoon
is one
stuff.
of the only. I think he's the only.
Yeah, the only henchman
Henchman
or
who's ever
assassin
come
who
back.
to repeat. Like
Well, no,
one of three
like,
villains to
the
repeat.
The first, there's later on.
There's been
some.
more, yeah.
Well, no. Mr. White is the only repeat one, and Blofeld is the only other repeat one. Blofeld is played by different actors, and he's not a henchman. And Mr. White is not does not directly try to kill Bond.
I don't know. You're
When
putting
he
a lot of
reappears in
qualifications on
Spectre,
this.
he's like,
all I
they
will
just
say is
hang
that
out or
Mr. White
whatever.
is in multiple movies, and so I don't think you can say that Jaws is the only. henchman
What he
that's
did
in
was
multiple.
important. Jaws is an important thing.
Jaws should
Anyway.
have never been brought back.
Right. Jaws should not have been brought back, especially in this capacity. And what they do to him here in this movie is he starts out off as the same Jaws that we know and love from the first. He's a villain, but by the end of this movie, he not only gains a love interest, but he becomes
Sidekick.
a sidekick, and he lives happily ever after.
Yeah. After having killed who knows how many.
Yeah,
people.
oh, and, that's,
Yeah.
and Bond switches up his opinion on him like that. It's like, oh, you're going to help me now? Oh, he doesn't seem like such a bad guy, even though he's like been murdering people for
I
2
think that's
movies
one
now.
of the things about James Bond is like he gets to make those kind of calls. Like, yes, I know this is a murderer, but I murder too, and because that's what the Crown, the British government, pays me to do. And so if someone's a murderer and they decide to go good, I appreciate it.
So be it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's all right.
Well, I don't know. So basically, Jaws is awful in this movie, and they give him a girlfriend, which is bizarre. And
The scene in which they introduce her is what is that music that they use? They use a call. What do you call it?
I might have it.
They reference another music.
I didn't
It's like
ca-
from
I didn't catch that.
It's like.
Like the Romeo and Juliet overture.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, which
forget
they
who
use.
does that.
They use a few of those, which I know you hate that they do. They do
I
this.
hate them.
They
I
use-
actually
there's at least 3 in this
thought
movie.
Some of them were kind of cool. You know what? My favorite thing about it was I like when I've got to think of like, oh, what's that from? Like, obviously they do the
Magnificent
the
Seven?
spoke. Well, that one I knew right away, and that's one of the ones that's kind
And,
of too
Close
on the
Encounters?
nose. But the Close Encounters tone, I
Yeah.
was like, hey, is that the Close Encounters tone?
Oh, I want to talk about the Close Encounters part because we were talking about how many people die in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Another, like, in Venice, when they're there, there's another scene where he's investigating this nerve gas thing. He doesn't know what it is yet, right? So he goes in there and he's looking around, and then he comes back out of the room, and the scientists come back in to do their thing. And because he was messing around in there, they drop
knock
a
it over.
vial on the floor. The whole room fills with gas, and they die in front of him
Painfully, yeah,
painfully
It's not
as
good.
he watches.
It's not a good death. and
and
he's
he
sort of
just
like,
walks out.
whoops.
Doesn't say anything.
Like,
It
that's
made me
why they
think
make
of,
erasers on
yeah.
pencils.
It's a precursor to The Rock. Do you guys know The Rock?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same kind
exactly.
of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's-
that's like a little different than usually these people are like henchmen getting dispatched. These were like more like closer to the innocent scientists. I mean, they still knew they were working on deadly nerve gas, but for
There's
Drax Corp,
lots of
which is
good
obviously
people who
evil.
make deadly nerve gas.
And Drax is obviously evil, but these guys weren't, guys with guns. And they die like really horrifically.
Because James Bond's kind of
And
like
Bond
clumsily
just watches it happen.
Yeah, and then just shrugs his shoulders and takes off. He's like, well,
and like tons of people die in this one.
Mm-hmm.
This one has a lot of people dying because by the time they get to the space station, there's like a shitload of people on the space station, and they invade the whole space station with space marines. Some of those space marines died,
Man.
and then everyone on the space station dies except for Bond, the girl, Jaws, and his girlfriend.
Yep.
yeah, that about sums it up. Yeah,
And
it's-
like some of the Marines live too,
They
but
never
some of the
show
Marines
you-
die, and everyone else dies.
There's like a bevy of beautiful women.
Yeah.
But then once the fighting starts happening, you don't see the women anymore, and you just assume that they die.
You assume that
They're
the
all sucked out into space
the
or
space
blasted with
station
space lasers
explodes
off
into
camera.
like pieces. Yeah.
yeah.
Which also it doesn't make sense how Jaws lives because like a part of the space station just falls off and Jaws and the girlfriend are in it and somehow they get rescued by Colonel whatever.
Yeah,
the fuck
it
his
like
name is.
descends to Earth without just turning into.
Well, there's a part they were on the radio and they're like, "Oh, the Colonel whatever
Right.
rescued this. It's a blonde woman and a really tall guy."
I caught that. I'm.
But exactly, how did that
I said,
work?
like, how did that? They were basically in a meteor that was falling to Earth.
Yeah.
So apparently, she's inherited his powers of invincibility.
You can't question the science in these.
Yeah, and also like you can't.
You
You
shouldn't.
can't. The other thing you can't quantify is the power of love.
Yeah, that is true. There's a lot of. Can we talk just for a second about the Venice Canal murder attempt?
It's a
love
really
this
cool
part.
boat chase scene.
No, wait,
That's
before-
capped off.
before the chase.
Before that. Please tell the part that you love. I want to know what's up with a coffin knife guy. What's the point of having a coffin filled with like 60 knives if you're just going to miss with your second throw and then let the guy throw the knife back at you
So wait,
and murder
let's
you with
paint
it?
the picture for Chris
Please
here.
paint this picture.
So he's in Venice on the canals, and he's on a gondola.
Wait, but his gondola is special. He knows the gondola driver, so it's like another agent or something, and like it's a gondola that's been planted there for him.
Right. So he's going down the canal. Another gondola's coming the opposite way, and it's got a casket. It's like a burial, funeral.
Yeah, like a hearse gondola.
Yeah, a hearse gondola. So it gets next to him, and of course the casket opens up, and there's a knife thrower. He sits up like Dracula, and he's got knives lining the inside lining.
And
of
they
the
start like popping up
casket.
out of the
Right, they're
the
like,
casket, just
like this.
knives shoot up. Like this guy's about to throw
You
like
see, like,
40
50
fucking
knives.
knives
Right.
at once.
He grabs one knife, throws it, and Bond dodges it. It hits right here, and then Bond grabs that knife and just throws it right back, and it hits the guy, and
Well,
he goes, oh, and he just
he
falls
does
into the casket.
He does kill the gondola driver.
He kills
Oh,
the
that's
gondolier.
right,
He,
he kills
he
the
technically
gondola.
wasn't completely incompetent, just grossly incompetent.
Yeah, grossly. But it's just his face when he gets hit,
and
he
that
falls
and
back
that
in.
kicks
It's
off
classic.
one of the many comedy action sequences in this movie,
Yeah,
where
and
it's
there's-
a slow-moving gondola chase through the streets of Venice, or through the canals of Venice.
Well, the gondola, it turns out to have a secret motor in it, so it is like a motorboat chase. But they couldn't go too fast because like you're not allowed to go that fast in Venice.
But you had all these gags, like the smoker seeing the
I got 'em all
coffin,
right here.
and the gondola
Yeah,
gets
the
cut
smoker
in
guy.
half, and all the reactions to Bond's hovercraft. Later, Bond's
Okay,
gondola turns into a
That
hovercraft,
whole thing is like a whole thing in itself.
and everyone is
Wait,
doing
they
like
could've
double
just
takes and
ended
spit
it.
takes.
There's a whole montage that happens. So there's this chase happening in the canal. The bad guy's boat goes through another gondola, cutting it in half, and there's a couple making out on the boat that don't even notice. Right? So
They just keep making out.
keep making out.
But their
That-
gondolier falls in the water
Yeah.
clumsily and
Then
goofily.
Bond's gondola turns into a car, essentially, and goes up on land.
Hovercraft.
A hovercraft. A guy looks at his wine bottle. It's the same guy from the last movie.
So yeah, he drives through the biggest plaza in Venice. Like it's like the part of Venice you've seen in all the pictures.
You know, I
and
think it's
everything.
called Il Big Plaza.
No, it's I think it's San Marco. I think is Piazza San Marco or something like that.
it's called
But
Pizza Square.
they are called piazzas.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Probably not the most
Anyways.
important part of the story.
Anyways, yeah. So,
So he's
then
driving this thing through basically where everyone is in Venice.
The guy does a double take, looks at his bottle, he's like, "What's in this?" You
Everyone's
know?
just going like, What? Oh my God, how crazy!"
Then a pigeon does a double take. But the way they do it is it's just a shot of a pigeon going like this, and then they reverse it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
horrible.
That's
Oh,
the kind
and
of
then
shit we're dealing with. in this
There's
movie, Chris.
there's a guy sitting at a
waiter-
cafe with a bottle of wine, and he looks at the bottle of wine to check how strong it is.
That's what I just said. Then the waiter pours beer onto someone. He's
Yeah.
like pouring the beer, and he like looks, and he's not seeing what he's doing, and he like pours it on the guy's head. Then a painter turns back to his canvas, which is now gone. So he's like painting. He turns this way to get more paint, and then the boat like knocks the what do you call it, easel off, and he comes back, and it's gone.
Like this scene is too jokey, but I do laugh out loud every time.
It's great. It's great, but horrible. The bad guy's boat turns around and knocks one of them overboard in a comical fashion. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But that whole sequence, and it all happens like one after the other. It's great and horrible.
Did you guys notice that there was a couple of times in this movie where like I feel like more than usual, Bond was like. There's a scene where he and Holly Goodhead get kidnapped because basically paramedics show up, and he'd rather make out than pay attention to these paramedics who are actually bad guys and get captured.
that was good. Of
And then there's another one where he finds his chemical weapons plant, and then he decides to go get laid that night instead of immediately alerting the authorities. And by the time he gets back, Drax has changed everything to like this is entire. Like I kept on being like, God, you giant walking boner. Please, just let some of the blood return to your head for a half a second so you do not get kidnapped or get like screw
waste
something
time.
up. Yeah, just
He didn't just get laid, okay? He established that Holly Goodhead was with the CIA and that he was going to try to work together with her. And the best way to do that was to like try to have sex with her.
just terrible.
Oh my god. Apprehended by goons. I'm just going through my notes here.
I've got.
Let's talk about the product placement in this movie.
Oh, 7-Up. Seiko watches. How do you say that? Psycho?
I
Seiko?
think it's Seiko.
Seiko.
Yeah. So
I've never
let's see,
known.
Let's see if you can name them all.
I like calling it some Zika watches because then I think it's like, oh my God, it's like a mosquito-borne illness.
Air France and British Airways,
Yep.
7-Up, the watches, some kind of car, cigarettes, Marlboro.
Marlboro. Yep.
There's a lot.
I think that's it. No, there's definitely more.
Yeah, there's more. They're in the credits too. It's like special thanks to all these companies.
I guess when your budget gets this
Give
high,
us
it's like you
kickback.
start looking for creative ways to cut into that a
This
little
is
bit.
the first.
yeah.
I mean, I know the Bond movies have a long history of like product placement, but this is the first one where I actively noticed it and was like, okay, enough.
Yeah. To me, in the gondola scene, which we didn't talk about much, but in Rio, Bond goes to the top of a mountain to spy on the Drax planes, which are shipping out all his stuff. It's a really pretty scene, like visually. That the whole
I thought
all
Rio
the
was, like,
outdoor
really
shots
cool
of Rio are
Oh yeah, and then
beautiful.
the shots of Carnival, everything. Rio was great location shooting.
but,
But by the
uh,
way, in product placement, we forgot to mention the 007 mini spy camera.
Oh,
The
yeah.
fucking brand name is he's got a mini spy camera, and the lens is one of the O's in 007.
Yeah.
I'm serious, Chris. This is how stupid
You
this
could,
movie
you
is.
could, can you buy that for home, like in
It's
1979?
Just they were like, oh, you know what's the problem? This isn't cheesy enough. Can we find more cheeseball shit we can throw in
But
this
couldn't
movie
you
to
buy an
make people
actual
really
camera
not
like
take it
that
seriously?
in like 1979?
A tiny mini spy camera? I
don't know.
I don't know. With like a 007?
Maybe you can buy it now.
I'm not sure.
Anyways, but in the gondola scene, the 7-Up ones, I remember being so like prevalent, like, but I was always like, to me, I didn't know it was from 1979, but I always knew it was like from the 70s, and 7-Up to me was always like less of a soft drink company than Coke and Pepsi, so I was always like, wow, 7-Up was like had enough money to like throw money at James
Maybe
Bond.
they were bigger in Europe or something.
Well, Brazil is in South America.
Oh, well, I thought you said in the gondola scene.
No, I said Rio.
Oh,
Oh, I thought you said in the gondola.
You don't
too.
remember that?
No, I do remember it. I think, but
7-Up is all over the-
was pretty substantial, just because it was like the. I think they were marketing themselves around this time as like the cola alternatives.
I know,
the
but
Uncola.
as
No,
like
Sprite was Sprite the Uncola? No, 7-Up was the Uncola.
Seven-
I think it is 7-Up.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, 7-Up was the Uncola.
They
Remember
might have
the
been a new
red
hit.
dot
Intern,
in between
check up
7
on
and
this.
Up used to have like sunglasses and stuff too. Yeah,
Yeah,
I wish they'd
well,
bring
that was
that
like
back.
that was
I think they have
many,
like
many
not the
decades
same
later.
advertising budget anymore.
Probably
over there.
not. I don't know.
I hope they throw some money at us for all this right now.
I thought the hang glider thing was pretty good. The boat that
Well, let's get into that
launches the
boat
hang-
chase.
because that boat chase is okay. That was pretty cool.
well,
They did a lot of boat spy
It's
boat
a
gadgets.
great way to get them in another location they
the
wanted,
waterfall was
which
cool
is
as hell. The
Iguazu
waterfall was
Falls,
huge.
which is an amazing,
Yeah.
beautiful waterfall
Yeah.
in South America.
and it ends with Bond is heading towards the waterfall, and
with Jaws and a bunch
what's
of
he-
henchmen in pursuit in a speedboat.
Right. What's he gonna do? Oh, the boat company. That's another product
Oh, yeah.
placement. I forget what it's called. But
Yeah, I don't know.
you think he's gonna fly off the thing, but his boat transforms into a hang glider, and he hang glides away. The boat goes
The boat
off.
doesn't
And
really
the-
transform into a hang glider. It,
kinda
just has
pops
a
out.
hang glider
Sprouts
into
a
it.
hang glider.
So
Yeah.
you know
And of-
he just like trashed a like multi-million-dollar boat just to fly away on a like
And of course, Jaws
$1,000
is
hang
right
glider.
behind him with a boat full of henchmen approaching this 100-foot waterfall. And of course, Jaws gives like a goofy double take and goes, "Whoa, no!"
Yeah.
He doesn't
It's
say
more
anything, but-
cartoon Jaws.
But yeah, he's just makes it like even one good sequence to get right, they got to turn into a fucking joke at the end. I swear to God.
Then Bond lands and like sees a beautiful woman just like in the jungles of the Amazon. He just happens to land like near the secret hideout.
He's
right?
like, I know I
the
should be
base, the
suspicious
main
of
base,
this.
the
the
lair.
main base. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I should be suspicious of this, but my boner is telling me follow that woman.
So he follows her to a pyramid in the jungle, and she goes into the pyramid, and then all of a sudden he's at mission control for like the Drax's master plan to launch all the Moonraker rockets up to the space station, so he can bring all his breeders up there and kill everybody
And the
down
set
below.
is really cool. It's like an underground grotto kind of thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
This
and
is
he's
another
attacked
amazing
He's
set.
attacked by a giant snake, which like some of that was kind of cool because I think they actually used some real giant snake, but most of it's terrible
rubber
fake
snake,
rubber
yeah.
snake.
Do you think it's the same snake from Hard Ticket to Hawaii?
Yeah, I think it's a Hard Ticket to Hawaii snake. They just repurposed it. It had seen better days by the time it made it to Hard Ticket.
Which, by the way, if you guys don't know what we're talking about, there's a movie from the 80s called Hard Ticket to Hawaii. I won't say anymore.
Do yourself a favor.
Just do yourself a favor and watch it. Yeah.
Then Drax shows up after the python fails to kill him, and he goes, "Mr. Bond, you defy all my attempts at planning an amusing death for you." Which is like, yeah, no shit, Drax. Stop
So
planning
just
a
kill him.
It's not supposed to be about amusing deaths.
Yeah.
Thought it was just about killing the guy.
Yeah, notice Bond doesn't say, well, you could just kill me.
No.
Continue to try to amuse yourself.
And,
I'm going to live.
this is when he explains the whole plan, right?
Yes.
When he gets to mission control.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he has the orchid that he used to create the nerve gas that he found in the rainforest in an orb hanging above the mission control, which is an amazing set also. I heard Cubby Broccoli called it the Mondrian set. Because do you know Mondrian?
Yeah, it's
he's the guy who painted the lines with the squares and stuff. So he has so many like screens in there looking at all the mission control stuff and whatever else they like to look at that it looks like a Mondrian painting, except more colorful because it has a lot
I think
more
this
going
movie
on.
by far has like the best sets that we've encountered thus far.
I don't know. If I went back, I could probably. Some of the earlier ones were so some
I
of them
really
had so
love
many good
Willard
ones.
White's.
Willard
White's
Diamonds Are
Office.
Forever had a bunch
That's
of
one of
really
my
good
favorite ones.
So then, let's get to the last
big
sequence of this
finale?
movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Drax is preparing to launch into outer space right at that moment, of course, and he launches several rockets into the air. His goes first, or before
No,
he leaves
he's on
Bond.
5.
He's on
the
5.
5th one. Yeah.
He leaves Bond and Goodhead to die in like the blast zone of the shuttle.
Yeah, underneath the exhaust of the rockets.
Right.
So they'll get
And-
incinerated.
And the only way to escape is through some vent that
That just
an
happens
air
to be
duct.
there. That he also has in his watch a thing that will explode it perfectly. And they're somehow able to crawl away at the right amount of speed to not get vaporized by rocket
Yeah, because the
exhaust.
flames are following
Which
them.
is straight up impossible. Like everything about that scene is just straight up impossible. You couldn't even contain that much rocket exhaust in like a room like that. And for them to get away from it by crawling through a tube, I mean, come on.
I will say compliments to the special effects people on shuttle launches. I thought those looked pretty cool.
yeah.
Like, for where it was technologically, those look pretty good.
This the whole third act of this, when we talk about how they just decided to up the ante on everything, the third act is like, it's like they just keep pushing it further and further. It's like, oh, not only did he steal one space shuttle because he needs that for his plan, he has 7 of them that he's launching with a whole ton of people to go to a space station that no one detected, even though it's as big as a city. And then, because we need to like thwart the plan, we have like 50 space marines on standby, ready to launch in a shuttle same day with laser guns.
So Bond and Goodhead sneak aboard this space station that Drax has via the last remaining shuttle, and they turn off its cloaking device, alerting the U.S. to the fact that this thing exists, and you need to get some space marines up there, stat.
You get a quick phone call with Russia.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't do it either.
Yeah, and so then they get captured, and Drax tells Jaws to throw them out the airlock and kill them. And then how Bond escapes this is maybe the most preposterous thing in this entire movie. Is he points out that, hey, you're selecting all these people that are genetically perfect for your super colony. Maybe, Jaws, who's like 7 feet tall and has metal teeth, and his dwarf.
She's not a dwarf.
She's like 5 feet tall. She's tiny.
She's a dwarf compared to him.
Nearsighted girlfriend might not fit
she
with
has
the
glasses.
might not fit in with the whole eugenics plan. And then Jaws,
But like, she's not, like,
and then Jaws thinks to himself, oh, maybe he's got a point. And
this is Jaws' girlfriend. I'm showing Chris Jaws' girlfriend.
Yeah.
She is nipping out in that.
Apparently, the picture
Yeah.
I chose has. Oh yeah, I see it now.
yes,
I didn't notice
you see it now. Come on, like you haven't been looking at it for a while.
I was looking at her smile.
And I guess my biggest problem is not that Jaws immediately does this face turn and decides that he's not only is he not going to execute Bond, he's going to start fighting Drax's men and
Right
try
in
to
that moment.
save Bond right in that moment. But also, like, that doesn't even make sense. Having a 7 foot tall invincible super soldier into the gene pool seems like it might be worth it, or at least
But what about
not
a girl with
pissing off-
glass though?
At least
a
not
girl with glasses.
Well, in the
cannot
James Bond
be-
world,
Pigtails.
that's that's bad
and
news.
pigtails. She has
But,
glasses and pigtails.
But I think the more important thing is you don't invite the 7-foot-tall monster onto your spaceship and then do something that's going to piss him off. You need to reassure him. And Drax basically doesn't reassure him at all. He just starts yelling at him. He's like, just throw him out the airlock. You work for me. Do what I say. Blah, 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 blah. It's just a terrible...
Big mistake.
Did not hit... I mean, that's Space Station 101 is don't piss off the giant monster on the space station.
You're right. And you know what? But smart move by Bond to make that emotional appeal. He immediately detected the love between the pigtails and Jaws.
Speaking of no love for girls in glasses, I just want to call out some of the massive sexism in this when he meets Holly Goodhead and he's like, a woman doctor.
Yeah, that's right.
Unheard of. Well, what could that be?
See, but that's one of the things I like. The way she like, you know, jabbed back at him, or the way she reacted to that, I thought was
But he kept on doing it. He kept on being like, oh, I guess maybe you do know something that you're talking about despite having a vagina. You know, it's like he's constantly
I feel like by the end he's not doing
incredulous.
it anymore. I feel like by the time they're like flying to space together and they've already had sex, he's not doing so much of that.
Well, I also took issue with like Drax's whole impetus, or the whole impetus of Bond discovering Drax's plan comes from the first scene of the movie. Drax steals the rocket, but then you find out he's this billionaire who already has several rockets. Yeah. He produces them. Why is he stealing his own rocket? And his explanation is that one of his rockets like failed a test or something.
Yeah, malfunctioned. And instead of fixing it, he had to steal another one, which...
Right. If he hadn't done that, he
would have gotten away with it.
Yeah, exactly. It's so stupid.
I never thought about that.
Colin, would you like to explain, because I think it would sound funniest coming out of your mouth since you've been defending this movie, how Bond eventually thwarts the plan and causes all the chaos on the space station?
From like about the point where we're at?
Yeah.
Okay, so like he turns Jaws, but Jaws can't take all the Drax's like space force. They all wear bright yellow jumpsuits in the Drax space force, by the way, and they have helmets they look kind of like those helmets you use when you spar in boxing, except they're even puffier, if that makes any sense to you. Mm-hmm. So that's what you wear in the Drax Space Force. But there's too many of them for Jaws and Bond and Dr. Goodhead to like, you know, karate fight. And so they're about to they launched 3 of the glass orbs full of the nerve gas.
3 of 50, I think.
The plan is to launch all 50 of them to like circumnavigate the Earth, and then they'll all like go off at the same time.
Yeah. So Bond knows he's got to stop him, and there's a big red button that says "Don't press this" because it'll turn the gravity off.
It's literally
Bond is standing right next.
It says "Emergency Stop," like for the entire space station,
and it says "Do not press." It's literally a giant red button, and he literally does like the elbow nudge, and then like does the like look over, and he like brushes his eyebrows so he can point at it, and he's like, "Look, we're standing right next to the emergency stop to Dr. Goodhead," which he doesn't. He's gonna do it anyways. He doesn't have to tell her.
Right.
But Dr. Goodhead and Jaws see him motion to it, and they're like, "Oh, gravity's about to come off." So he shuts down gravity and the whole thing. So this huge set with all these extras all over the place, all in yellow jumpsuits. We get to see them all hang on 0G wires and act like they're in 0G, which involves a lot of like slow walking and like awkward movements and stuff like that.
I thought that part was really done well, like for the technology, like that.
Considering for the time, for the time, it was amazing.
But earlier than that scene, when they're in the shuttle and they're on their way, and you first like see the space station,
and they
for the
just
first
like
time,
she just uses the slow arm.
People are just like in slow motion. They're just like,
yeah.
Tell.
And to make the girls, they have the women and the men like in their like Noah's Ark type little situation. They're like sitting next to each other in the Drax ships because they're gonna go reproduce the master race or whatever. So they're all sitting next to each other, right? And then gravity goes out, so they take one of the girls' hairs and they like drape it over her like airplane seat, but like so that it looks like it's floating, and then they let it slowly fall off the airline seat, so it looks like it's floating in another direction, and then they like. And then they make out.
Pretty high tech. Oh yeah, and then all the couples on these little shuttles are making out furiously the entire trip.
Yeah,
they're ready to repopulate the Earth.
There's a serious vibe going, and then they all get slaughtered by space marines. with lasers.
Which brings us right back up to date, because right after the emergency stop, the U.S. Space Marines show up, and the Space Marines get out of their shuttle. They're in like a space shuttle, like the Challenger.
Well, yeah,
type of
Drax was gonna laser the other space shuttle, but that plan fails because Bond shut down the gravity. So
Doesn't he lean over and just like push a button and like he pulls a joystick or something and that throws the laser off? He definitely does that.
No, that's when the gravity going off
he hits
makes
the
everyone
button
float
to
away.
make- to screw things. He hit the emergency stop when they were trying to aim, and nobody had their belts on. The big red emergency space city emergency
that he's
stop
standing
button.
next to
That he's
instead of
standing
being
next to,
killed.
yes. Instead of being shot with lasers. So the Space Marines show up, and they have like jetpacks, and then all the Drax guys come out, and they have jetpacks.
They have spacesuits for like. Because this is an outside of the space station battle.
And-
See,
and
they
this-
jump out of the shuttle
and
and they
this
jump out of the
develops-
station and they laser each other while floating around in space.
But it starts off with
all
all
it
like the slow moving boringness of like the Thunderball scuba fights, and I was like,
Right.
"Oh Jesus, not this shit again!" And
But once the first laser is fired,
once the
yeah.
first laser's fired, then it's just chaos, and you can't even tell what the hell's going on. It's just you just see guys getting like laser exploded left and right, and
Can
it's
we
just
all just make the pew pew sound right
fast cuts. And
Actually, I feel like the lasers they use have a few different sounds, and the first one is more of like the wop wop sound, you know, like
yeah.
yeah. And then they use some, and then they use some more pew pews. They
Yeah.
got some zaps.
Yeah, there's definitely some zaps in there.
But I one of the other trivia ones I read was they to simulate some of that set getting destroyed. Once the Space Marines get onto the station and start just busting it up, they literally locked themselves in the soundstage with the set and just shot it up with shotguns.
That's awesome. No, the incoherent chaos of the laser fight just really makes you appreciate how forward-thinking and aesthetically pleasing Star Wars was 2 years earlier,
Yeah.
which is the whole inspiration for this movie, where they were going to do, which one were they going to do?
For Your Eyes
For Your Eyes
Only.
For Your Eyes Only, yeah. And instead they did this because Star Wars took off, and Star Wars came 2 years earlier and somehow did everything much better. Just space scenes and
This is still
laser
a
fights. and-
pretty cool scene if you just like if you're able to just enjoy like lasers and stuff blowing up.
If
like,
you
this
like,
is still a pretty
if you
cool
like-
scene.
If you like Total Anarchy and maybe are on acid or something, like this would be a pretty
This would be an amazing
yeah,
scene.
this would be an amazing.
What I think,
scene.
like this whole end sequence is great, with the blowing up of the base and all that stuff. It's the part after that it kind of like drags for me. It's when he has to chase the three orbs. And
Well,
Yeah,
let's
that's
just
too
cover that he shoots Drax with his
Oh,
wrist,
that part's cool.
wrist
Oh,
thing.
yeah, and
despite the
what's
fact
his
that Drax has the drop on him with a laser gun pointed at him.
Bond
yeah.
like turns down a corridor and there's Drax at the end, and it's just mano y mano, like the two of them looking at each
But
other.
he lets Drax slowly back up until Drax has a laser.
Yeah,
Right.
Drax picks up a laser and he's like, I got you, but I'm still going to say some stuff. And Bond is like, I'm scared. As he starts to bring his hands up, he shoots the little
He's got
wristwatch
this
gun.
wristwatch that they set up like earlier, and he just goes.
And then he opens up an airlock and says, "Take a giant step for mankind."
Oh, yeah, I love that joke.
and then
great.
and then
That
Goodhead
one's so
and then
good.
Goodhead shows up and goes, "Where's Drax?" And Bond says, "He had to fly," because Bond only knows dad jokes.
The giant step for mankind one is pretty good.
That's really good.
They're all awful. So, and then Bond and Goodhead have to steal a shuttle and shoot down these orbs that are about to go and kill people on Earth. And
Jaws helps them.
and Jaws helps them escape. And it
wait.
takes for freaking ever.
And
for
then
them to
Jaws
shoot
and
this thing.
Dolly, in the aftermath of everything exploding around them, they're sitting there in the rubble, and they open a bottle of champagne, and Jaws turns to Dolly and says, "Well, here's to us." It's
Yeah,
the only line
I like
he
it.
speaks ever.
I
It's
really
great.
felt the chemistry between Jaws
Oh my
and this
God.
one.
It's just so fucking bad. So they shoot the thing, and then Bond and Goodhead are returned to space for some reason and are boning in zero gravity when the government decides to patch the feed from their shuttle through to the White House and Buckingham Palace, and they are somehow
And then Q gets a
somehow
good joke
they are
here.
surprised to find Bond boning a woman. Like they once again they know who this man is.
It happens
devil is
every
he doing?
time.
Yeah, and Q goes, "I think he's attempting re-entry, sir."
Great.
Which is really, I mean, that is a good joke. That is, I don't like a lot of things about this movie, but that
one's
was
really
one
good.
of them. That's
Oh,
a solid.
and you know what the last
double
line of the
entendre.
movie is?
That might be a.
Is that not it?
No, she says to Bond, "Take me around the world one more time."
Oh, that's right. That's so
good.
smooth.
And I can't believe that we've already spent 3 hours talking about this 18-hour movie. But does anybody have anything else they want to say, or should we wrap it up?
Well, I was gonna say I think we need to start a segment, or I'll go back and listen to all the movies, and I'll get the final punchline. It's become a gag now, where like Bond is always boning the girl at the end, and Q or M says some funny double entendre. I feel like we need to be recording these and figure out which one is our favorite. Or
we should do which is the best.
Which is the best? Because I know there's some great ones coming up too.
Yeah.
I also was going to say, and I don't think we should do it today, but maybe on the next show, there's some news coming out about Bond 25, and I think we should start talking about, or at least recapping what we know about Bond 25 up to this point. And, anytime there's some new news, we can kind of announce it and sort of just keep tabs on what's going on with that movie. Because ultimately, this is a podcast that it's like building up to that movie, which we'll go see together and then talk about together. Yeah. So, and people I'm sure want to hear news about that. So it's a little preemptive now to talk about it. But I'd say next episode, be on the lookout for something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah. So, what do you say we rate this sucker?
Okay.
I'm going to give it a 9. It's so funny.
A 9 is the same score. Oh, no, wait. You gave...
no, that's the highest. I haven't given it a 10 to any.
But you gave Spy Who Loved Me an 8?
Yeah.
And then me and Harris both gave it a 9.
Yeah.
Because it was excellent.
It was excellent.
Yeah. Colin...
This one's not excellent, but I like it
Colin,
a lot.
I wasn't going to give it anything in the negatives, but now I think just to offset you, I'm going to have to.
I'm forcing you to sandbag the rating by overrating it. I mean, I want to give it a lower rating because I don't like...
better than The Spy Who Loved Me?
I mean, I like it more. I like... It has so much stuff I like. I like all the girls. I like the Venice.
This is your favorite Bond movie so far.
Well, I don't know.
That's what your rating is telling me. Your rating is telling me that you think this is the best a Bond movie can be.
I will say that the way I know Colin is that we were roommates for a while, and one of the first memories I have of Colin is I have this James Bond Blu-ray set, and one day...
Yeah.
I think we were super stoned or something.
Yeah.
And we decided to watch Moonraker.
Yeah.
I think I had told you like, I'm not really
I
familiar.
remember
with this
because you're like, I got the whole set. We can watch one of them sometime.
We
and
can
then
watch
later
anyone we want.
Later on, you
one
came
of the
back
great
to me.
ones.
Later on, you came back to me.
ones.
Which one do you want to watch? We could watch Moonraker, and I'm like, yeah, Moonraker sounds good.
And I just remember Colin, like in his way, like pointing out the minutia of this movie and like the character details and motivations and things, and I was like thinking to myself, this guy really knows a lot about fucking Moonraker over here.
I like this
And he's way into Moonraker.
And that's why when I started this podcast, I knew for sure like Colin had to be a part of this.
Colin, you are going to you're locking this down. This is a 9 for you.
Yeah, I mean, like like if I'm put on trial for this later, I'll plead temporary insanity. But I'm like I'm the Carl Lee Haley of rating this movie overrating this movie.
Oh my god!
Does that make
Harris,
sense?
What do you?
Yeah. Oh my god! What a mess. It's not just the film is like so embedded with bad tongue-in-cheek comedy, or that they are ripping off Star Wars to diminishing returns.
Yeah.
They don't even get like the traditional Bond elements right. I felt like it's like I didn't. I mean, Roger Moore I thought gave it the old college try, but.
I think I like this movie in like a standalone way. Like it's not
like if it was a James Bond spoof, I think it would be. I would probably like it more.
Exactly.
But it's like comically bad, and it's everything that earned the series. And Roger Moore's run on the series. Its reputation for like cheesiness. It all comes from this movie. That having been said. The sets were awesome. There were like certain elements I thought were really good. I loved the girl getting chased by the dogs. But I can't. I really I wanted to not be too harsh, but I can't give it a high. I have 002 here, and I'm sticking with
Oh
that.
my
Oh,
god!
wow.
It's easily
No,
the
I
worst
would
one
say-
I've seen so far.
I would say
Oh,
in seriousness though, they spent more on this movie than all the other ones combined. And if you're watching and I've seen it probably too many times, but if you're watching, you can see they spent a lot on this movie.
It's evidence
a bunch
that,
of people
it's
got
evidence
paid.
that money does
they
not
bought
make
a lot
good
of
movie.
yeah, but I see those things and I appreciate them. Like getting the permits to film everywhere in Venice and getting to drive boats around in there.
Yeah,
and building these sets these sets that are masterpieces to just see them for 2 minutes on screen.
I think
It's
that's
like,
all very
wow.
impressive, but
Yeah.
give me a memorable chase, a great villain, a great song, a nice opening sequence, a good cold open. Give me one iconic Bond thing, and this gives me none of those. It gives me
I
some
think
good
you're
sets
being
and
way
some other.
too harsh on this movie. It's got half of those things you just said.
No. Oh, it's bad.
Guys, I have to say, this is one of my favorite ones.
Oh.
I have a lot of fun watching it.
You guys are so bad.
So much so that I almost feel like this movie goes hand in hand with The Spy Who Loved Me, that you could watch them as a double feature and it would feel like one long, awesome movie. They mesh together for me. I mean, maybe the only difference is that this one is a bit goofier.
A bit. You're saying this one's a bit goofier than.
Do you ever listen to that 80s song where the chorus is just like, turn up the radio, and then you actually turn up the radio when you're listening to it? That's like the feeling of like how much they're just cranking up the like crazy stuff in this one.
But like this movie, yes, it is that all the things that people hate about James Bond, but I think it also has all the things that people love about James Bond.
Yeah.
It's got like all the things, and like a lot of things for
As long as it has all the things.
a lot of things work for me in a way where they don't work in other films, and it's like the small things. Like they set up his gadget early in the movie, and it pays off at the end. In a lot of the other movies, they'll have the Q scene in like the middle of the movie, right before the scene where he uses the gadget. So it's a little bit of a like, oh, we need to like give him this gadget right now. Let's just throw this Q scene in here. What else? Like the villain is fleshed out, like we said. The girls are fine, even though she's a terrible actress.
That's a big.
The sets are awesome. Like the opening is cool. You know, it's not like the greatest opening, but it's still in. I think the way like Colin is painting it is like all the things. If you step back, are good. The sets are good. But if you like go in, maybe like a Monet kind of thing.
There's definitely good things. Like the sets are good, but I felt like like you just said, the opening. It's okay. You know, like the actress, she's fine, but she isn't very talented. It's
case in point, Mission Impossible came out this weekend, and it has a skydive thing. Like,
Don't even get me started on Mission Impossible, because I started thinking about that series. This is going to look even shittier. I'm going to have to drop down to a 001.
I've seen skydive scenes like,
Mission
you know,
Impossible's
it's
so good.
2018. How many skydive scenes have we seen in our lives? Like, maybe when
Lots.
this movie came out, it was, you know.
Yeah.
The ones I named were from Get Smart and Spy Hard.
Yeah. So Colin's seen 3.
Drop Zone.
Drop Zone, the Wesley Snipes movie. Yay.
Yeah.
Oh, they skydive in Point Break, right?
Yeah.
Right,
That's.
yep.
I think I pointed that out earlier. It's
Oh,
the
you
same
said that,
exact
yeah.
gag of
You
him
said
jumping out without a parachute.
The Power Rangers movie. Have you guys ever seen that?
I thought there were like
this
5
is
of
getting
those.
exhausting. What is
The very first one. It opens with a skydive scene.
Oh my
Okay?
God, Matt, what are you overrating this thing?
Only because I see it as a counterpart to Spy Who Loved Me, and I gave Spy Who Loved Me a 9. I have to give this a 9 also.
You're giving it a 9? Oh,
Don't worry, your 2 will offset
yeah.
the
I don't know if
average.
it's enough. I feel like this is still going to end up with a pretty high rating.
Well,
I
It's,
think this movie, like for a long time, had the stigma of being the worst Bond movie, but as
But it-
time
but it
progressed, it
didn't.
no longer has that.
It didn't, because when I was reading some of the reviews, and the critics like were pretty divided. A lot of them loved this thing when it came out.
It's fun.
I watched it. I read those reviews, and I was just in shock that people were fooled at that point. I feel like they're all looking back, going, "Oh my God!" what
I
is
think
that?"
it was received well, but by the 80s and 90s, they were like, "This is too ridiculous. I can't believe we like this." And then,
But we're past the 80s and 90s.
and
What
then,
are you guys
now we're at
thinking?
now, and now we're like,
It's kind of gone like this, and now it's like this, because
Ugh.
since then there have been far worse Bond films, which we will get to in the future, that are worse for other more valid reasons.
I'm
I
not
think.
looking forward to that because it's hard to imagine a Bond film getting worse than this.
They do. They reuse a bunch of stuff, and they do a bunch of stuff that they wanted to do in other movies and stuff like that. But in a way, it's like they are executing. They were doing what they planned to do. You know what I mean? At least they didn't like.
They plan to. I mean, I think what they plan to do in the crassest, most obvious terms is rip off the previous movie that they made, and they did it with like you gave the last one a 9 and you give this one a 9. This one's clearly a worse movie. It's diminishing returns.
But in so many ways, they made it bigger and better.
They just tried to.
They may have not actually made it bigger and better, but in a lot of ways, they made it bigger and better.
They spent twice as much money to make a movie that's half as good.
It copies it in all the right ways, but it differs from it in all the right ways as well.
It's a
and I
cheesy
think
mess.
it does go bigger and better.
It's iconic, and
But-
it was on TV a lot growing up. But this is not a good use of anybody's time.
But
Just,
if you-
know what people should do? They should watch The Spy Who Loved Me twice instead of watching this as a double feature. That would be a better use of their time.
But if you like cheesiness, though,
If you like cheesiness, this is your Bond film. So what do you think? License to watch?
Definitely.
Yes.
No, absolutely
Yes.
not. Not in a million years.
mandatory.
Do not.
Show this in schools.
So in schools, damn it! In schools, damn it!
Oh my God! All right. Is
Well,
that
that's our
everything?
show. Thanks for listening. If you like the show, please rate us on iTunes and give us a shout out on social media or hit up our inbox at bondcast@gmail.com. Please subscribe, get your friends to subscribe, and help us spread the word of Bond.
Take us out, C-Rock.
Another thanks to Tom and all of our listeners. We
yeah.
appreciate you guys.
Oh yeah,
You-
that
y'all.
happened today.
You
It feels
guys
so
and
long
ladies.
ago.
Yeah, so stop telling people how long it is. They don't know. They don't feel that. They're having fun.
Yeah. I'm watching the clock every second, being like, can we get out of here or what? Yeah.
For real, C-Rock.